Hello and welcome back to another edition of Titan Sports. I'm Segovia.
Hey everybody, I'm Colin Costigan.
Great to see you again. I'm Justin Rosette.
And I'm Francisco Molina. We're here to get the ball rolling to provide you with weekly sports updates. Welcome to Titan Sports.
The Los Angeles Dodgers season ends in brutal fashion once again. The boys in blue were swept in the divisional series by the hands of NL West division rival, the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is the second year in a row that the Dodgers are eliminated in the NLDS by a divisional rival. This is the first time the Dodgers have been swept since 2006. The Dodgers' starting pitchers, including future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw, struggled on the mound with an ERA of 25.11 and giving up 16 hits in just 4.2 innings pitched, with only 2 recorded strikeouts. The Dodgers' bats were no help either, as their 2 biggest stars, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, went 1 for 21 at the plate over the 3-game series. This comes after Betts and Freeman had a fantastic regular season, both making an MVP case. The Dodgers had 100 wins in the regular season, while the Diamondbacks barely snuck into a wildcard spot with just 84 wins.
While the Dodgers team wasn't favored to win it all this season, they were heavy favorites against the Diamondbacks. There will be many questions regarding the Dodgers' offseason, as many fans believe they have underachieved since winning the World Series in a shortened season back in 2020. The Dodgers front office will have to deal with more than outrage as star pitcher Clayton Kershaw's future in baseball hangs in the balance, among other concerns like re-signing veterans J.D. Martinez and Kike Hernandez, and whether Dave Roberts will be brought back.
The Lakers have a nice 2-1 start to the preseason with flashes of excellence from starters like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and their 2 stars, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. A big question heading into this season is who will get the last starting spot. The Lakers seem to have 3 viable options in Rui Hachimura, Taurean Prince, and Jared Vanderbilt. The Lakers were defeated by the reigning NBA champions, the Denver Nuggets, in the Western Conference Finals last season. They had a busy offseason re-signing key pieces back like Austin Reeves and adding veteran players like Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood. Among those additions was Taurean Prince, who has a chance to start alongside LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell. Coach Darvin Ham announced that Reeves and Russell would be starters alongside the 2 All-Stars in late September. That leaves one last starting spot for either Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and Taurean Prince to battle for.
The 3 forwards will battle throughout the preseason to see who will get the last spot in the starting lineup before the season opener against the Nuggets. The Lakers will look to see who can provide floor spacing, shooting, and defense in the starting lineup.
This past weekend, the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys renewed their long-standing rivalry, a classic Sunday night football matchup under the bright lights of Levi Stadium. The Niners and the Cowboys rivalry reappeared in the 2021 NFC wildcard round and once again last year in the NFC divisional round. But long before the 49ers received the Cowboys' opening kick on Sunday night, Coach Kyle Shanahan and the team had an idea of what was to come. The Dallas Cowboys failed in Week 5 against the San Francisco 49ers, being dominated 42-10 in Northern California on Sunday night. The 32-point loss on Sunday was the Cowboys' largest non-division rivalry loss, with Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback. The 5-0 Niners proved that they have more than a chance of playing deep into the postseason, and, perhaps, finally getting the long-awaited 6th Lombardi Trophy under their franchise. With this win, the 49ers are one of 2 unbeaten teams in the season, along with the Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers demonstrated that they were the better team on the field.
The Cowboys appear to be frontrunners before this game. The Cowboys were coming in hot and taking care of business and smoking teams like the Giants, Jets, and Patriots in the season, but they lost to the Arizona Cardinals and appeared this past Sunday night as if they were a junior varsity team to the San Francisco 49ers. This is where the truth and reality check on the Dallas Cowboys begins.
The 2024 Paris Olympics will be the most distinctive in recent memory. Unlike previous Olympics, next year will include the addition of sport climbing, skateboarding, surfing, and breaking. Despite only being 5 years away, 5 new sports were proposed to be added to the large pool for 2028 in Los Angeles. Earlier this week, the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Committee proposed the following sports to be a part of their Olympics: flag football, baseball/softball, cricket, lacrosse, and squash. A decision on whether to approve the sports will be made by the International Olympic Committee on October 16th at the session in Mumbai, India. If approved, the decision will be milestone for the event. Flag football could make its debut in the Olympic sports scene. While it's not official if the sports will see daylight in the highly anticipated event, Miami Dolphins star wide receiver Tyreek Hill made it clear in a post on his X account that he wants to participate in the sport and has already begun recruiting other NFL players to join him, saying, quote, "Calling all NFL guys, let's bring one home," end quote. In addition, squash could also make its debut in the Olympics.
While baseball and softball have been played in the Olympics before, as both sports were added in 1992 and 1996, respectfully, they have been not featured in every Olympic setting. The two sports were later featured after the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Despite being played in the recent Tokyo Olympics, both sports will not be played in the upcoming Paris event. Cricket has only been a participating sport once in 1900 Paris Games. Lacrosse has been an active sport in the Olympics twice, with its appearances in 1904 and 1908, respectively. The LA 2028 Olympic Committee said in a statement about the potential of adding the 5 sports, quote, "This boldly reimagined sports lineup reflects the diversity, optimism, and creativity of Los Angeles. LA's 28th proposal harnesses the power of global sports in a fiscally responsible way to enliven the games with fresh, forward-thinking energy," end quote.
From the day it was announced that the Las Vegas was getting an NHL franchise, to the way the team has become a symbol of a city, to how the franchise has made big trades in the transfer market to get stars to build a, quote, "win at all costs," end quote, mentality, moments like these have defined the Las Vegas Golden Knights. This past Tuesday marked the 6th anniversary of their first official game in the NHL. The NHL 2023 to 2024 season kicked off this week, and what a better way to begin the celebration for the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are celebrating their 6th anniversary as current winners of the Stanley Cup. During the week, the Golden Knights kicked off the part right in their backyard, attending the Monday Night Football game between the Raiders and the Packers at Allegiant Stadium. The Golden Knights had the privilege of lighting the torch before kickoff. Also on Tuesday, during their first game of the new season, the Golden Knights raised their first Stanley Cup banner into a medieval theme. At T-Mobile Arena, the celebration ended with the 4-1 win over the Seattle Kraken.
What a way to celebrate not only their 6th anniversary, but also earning that Stanley Cup for the first time. Adam Hill, Golden Knights goaltender, said the following after the victory against Seattle: "It was cool to seeing the banner go up. I haven't seen a banner with that much detail on it. The Knights returned with the same energy for this new season as they did for the previous season."
All right, stay tuned for our roundtable discussion coming up right after the break.
Hello, and welcome back to our roundtable discussion. All right, for first story I want to cover is the Dodgers. I have a lot to say about this, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first. So my first question is, what is the future looking like for Dave Roberts?
I don't think there is one really. They've had so much patience. I didn't think the Dodgers had this much patience with them. One championship, and how long has he been there? What, 8 years?
Yeah, 8 seasons.
8 seasons, right? Mm-hmm. So the expectations, especially being in LA and with the roster you've had, there's no excuse for you to get swept like the way you did. And I think they've had a hard time letting him go because of the amazing person he is. But when it comes to the playoffs, he's just made a lot of questionable decisions. And I think it's coming to an end.
Yeah, I think for a lot of teams, that one championship in 8 years would be great, right? But for a team like the Dodgers, as storied as a franchise, there's like certain teams like Dodgers, Lakers, like certain franchises that you just need more. And the Dodgers is one of those teams. And looking at the stats, it's like I kind of feel for Dave Roberts because he can't do everything out there. Like the players have to make plays at some point, right? And it's like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, like we said, your 2-star players, 1 for 21. It's like that's inexcusable, for your 2 All-Stars. And game 1 and 2, Clayton Kershaw and Bobby Miller combined for 1.2 innings combined. Your starting pitchers, 1.2 innings combined and 9 ER. It's like those things can't happen, and it sucks that in sports those kind of things have to get taken out on the coach because you can't fire the players, Right. But at some point it's like something has to change, and it might have to be the management this season.
Yeah, I 100% definitely think he should get fired because of not being successful in the postseason. Yeah, he had multiple wins during the regular season, but when it came to the postseason, the analytic management style wasn't there. I want to read you guys some stats. This past postseason, these past 3 postseason stories, he was 7-12 and a below 500 record, and like Justin was saying, he has multiple players coming in and out, and not being efficient is not a good way to manage a ball club in LA because there's a lot of spotlight on him.
Before I even get into Dave Roberts, first thing I got to say is like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. You're telling me in 27 innings you could only get 1 hit, 1 for 21, and that 1 hit was an infield single. To quote Stephen A. here, you really got to look at yourselves in the mirror and work on your game. Like, what was that? That was pathetic to watch. It was really like, it was the worst I've ever seen the team in a postseason. I've been watching them since I was 9 years old. That was the worst. That was probably the worst playoff series I've ever seen them play. Total, just looking at some stats, I mean, total left on base, 18 runners left on base in the entire series. That's an average of 6 a game. I mean, we're paying Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts just for this season a combined, it's over $52 million. Wow. And when you're going to pay somebody that much and you're going to get basically nothing out of them from the playoffs, it's pathetic. I mean, like, what else? You're not going to be able to go anywhere without your star power. The one bright spot, though, is the bullpen. I'll give them that. The bullpen was fantastic. They came in and delivered on every game. Like, there was only a few starting, and I know Emmett Sheehan, he kind of came in early in game 1, but like that wasn't really his fault. He was thrown into a bad spot already. Everybody else in the bullpen did their job, and they were really good at it. Another thing is the RISP for that series, 4 for 17, and that's a 235 average. That may not seem horrible, but like 4 for 17 in the playoffs with that lineup is really bad. And I mean, it's not going to get, I don't feel like it's going to get any worse. And moving on to that, I feel like the problem is with leadership. To get into Dave Roberts' managerial record in the regular season, amazing. It's 753 and 442, which is a win percentage of 630. That's really good. Amazing. And we've seen him, like, this season, he's managed a lot. And like, he dealt with a ton of injuries, a really like young rotation. He did a great job. But when you get into the playoffs, you got to stop over managing everything. He just gets into it. He gets so far, like, he's too concerned about analytics. He'll pull guys early. Like one guy will get on and he'll go into somebody else in the bullpen. Luckily, they did their job, but like it's a level of trust that he's not like meeting. And I feel like I'm tired of looking over in the dugout and just seeing him like this. I mean, like, I probably did this more times in the series. Like, I mean, look what it's done to my face. I mean, like how stressed out I was just watching that. It was, and then his postseason record is 45 and 39. Which may not seem horrible, but I mean, since 2019, we've been eliminated in the first round 3 times. And that one World Series win was a shortened season, so there has implications with that as well. And it's just really, like, something has to change in leadership. And I feel like Andrew Friedman as the GM has done an amazing job, but it comes down to the trust with Dave Roberts, and their trust is really gone at this point. Now, now that I got all that out, let's move on to the court and the Lakers. So the main battle between, for the last starting nod, would be between Rui, Vanderbilt, and Prince. So we've all seen, like, I honestly feel like starting D'Angelo Russell wasn't the best decision, just because he shows he's inconsistent. He shows flashes of greatness, but he's in the starting lineup anyway. So between those 3 players, who do you think should get the starting nod?
I'm going to go with Rui. Rob Pelinka, Coach Ham, they've been talking. They had media day, and they were just ecstatic to talk about the amount of training and off-season work he has put in. Also, he's been training a lot with LeBron James, right? So hopefully we can see some of LeBron's training rub off on him this year. And he has a bright potential future. I mean,
Definitely.
he exceeded a lot of expectations once he landed in LA. And for him to build off on that, and I think the sky's the limit for him. He's young, he's athletic, and I think we're looking at LeBron in this, what I would say, final part of his career, right? Where he really is focusing on developing the young talent because he recognizes that his body isn't what it used to be, right? And he needs to preserve as much of it. And how do you do that? You prepare your other big fellas to when you're in a random game in Denver or Miami or whatever, and your legs are catching up to you. What's going to be his 21st season in the NBA, right?
Yes.
So he really is depending on these big guys. And I think Rui is someone that the Lakers can really depend on this upcoming season.
Yeah, I also agree with Francisco. I think Rui Hachimura takes the small forward position between the two of those guys, Prince and Russell, because he's a proven impact player. And we've seen that like last year after the deadline. He was making baskets, pick and roll all the time, and he has it, and it's his spot to lose, honestly.
I agree. I like what you said about Rui because, like we said, LA, the lights are very bright, and the fact that he came in near playoff season, because a lot of Lakers guys, if you come in the playoffs and you stink it up, like you're gonna get put on blast, as D'Angelo Russell did before. But the fact that Rui came in that big stage against the Warriors, against the Nuggets, and really performed, like he didn't really have any bad games in the playoffs. However, my answer for this question was Taurean Prince. I was looking at the stats. Jared Vanderbilt averaged 7 points last year with 30% from three, and Taurean Prince averaged 9 points on 38%. And I feel like Rui would be a good sixth man to come off the bench to bring that spark like he did in the playoffs. But in terms of starters, I think Vanderbilt has the better defense, but Taurean Prince, when you look at his 38% from three, I feel like we need that shooting because we have Reeves in the lineup and Russell, but if we had that third shooter, that Taurean Prince that can also play defense, it can also guard one of the other team's best players, and also 38% from three is nothing to sneeze at. So I think overall, I think Prince should start, and then I think Rui Hachimura could be potential sixth man of the year, like we said. If he continues up what he did last year, I think he could be a sixth man of the year candidate, but just bringing that spark off the bench, I think that would be good for the Lakers.
Yeah, I honestly agree. I think, in my opinion, just seeing what I saw, being a non-Laker fan here, on this table, I feel like Rui is probably your best bet because he just showed the consistency throughout, and he has like really good defense too. I mean, you saw him going up against Jokic. I mean, in Game 1, even though the Lakers were outmatched that whole series, like he still was showing like effort and he was fighting all the way to the end. All right, and now moving on to something I'm actually very excited to talk about. Onto the football field with the 49ers. So just to like a few notes about their defense. So far through 5 games, they've had a combined 13 sacks, 23 tackles for loss, and 8 interceptions. I mean, we already know how good the offense is. Brock Purdy throwing 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys despite only having 5 the previous 4 games. I mean, against a defense that was supposed to be our toughest opponent so far this season. Really, what do we think is stopping the 49ers at this point from going all the way?
I think the only thing is what we've seen in football before is if there's an injury down the line or something happens, right? But as of right now, they just look so good. I mean, they're good all around. The one thing, though, is it isn't the postseason yet, right? And we don't want to get way too ahead of ourselves. It's week 6 now coming up. So we still see that there's still this kind of lack of experience that the quarterback has, right? So we've seen this before with the Baltimore Ravens. They have a great regular season, but they just can't make it over the hump, especially when it comes to the playoffs. So right now, I'm just holding my breath with the 49ers. I'm really impressed with everything they're doing, but we'll see how he does once the postseason comes. But we still have a long way for that to go.
Yeah. And I also believe them adding Randall Gregory, a defensive end or a defensive tackle, really adds to their boosted up defensive team. And I really think the sky's the limit for them. The only thing holding them back, like Francisco said, is the lack of postseason experience, and we'll see if they can get over the hump.
Yeah, I think the only thing stopping us, like you said, would be injuries. And then, unfortunately, the other thing is I think the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, the Eagles are the other best team in the NFC. We're going to be playing them, and Niners are playing them in a couple of weeks, so that'll be a good test to kind of see where the Niners are at. But the Eagles are just so good. They're so consistent. Jalen Hurts is so good. They have the tush-push play. And those kind of plays are very essential because when you get to the playoffs and you have those 4th and 1s, like, everyone knows they're going to do it, but it works. Like, it's never – I don't think it's, like, not worked for them this season, those kind of plays that they need to convert. So those kind of plays, and also their defense is very good. They got a lot of good guys in the draft, but I think overall the Niners stay consistent. Will at least be in that NFC title spot, and then once you get there against the Eagles, most likely then Kyle Shanahan hopefully can not overmanage like Dave Roberts, and hopefully cook up some ways to beat the Eagles. But yeah, I think Niners should be in that NFC title spot at the end of the season.
So let's say Eagles and Niners in the NFC Championship this season. Does home field advantage help the Niners this season?
Definitely, I think so. Just not having to be in that hostile Philadelphia crowd definitely will help a lot, especially for Brock Purdy.
I will say, though, it's impressive how the Eagles have had the start, because how many times do we see a team go to the Super Bowl, not win it, and then it just kind of falls apart?
Yeah.
They got better in the offseason, and they've shown that they still want that championship.
They're still at the top, yeah.
All right, and now moving on to the Olympics, we saw for the Paris Games this upcoming year, they added sports climbing, skateboarding, surfing, and even breaking. And for the Olympics in 2028, that'll be in LA, they proposed flag football, baseball and softball, cricket, lacrosse, and squash. Among those possible 5 sports that they're thinking of adding on, which are you most excited about?
I would say baseball and softball, as well as cricket. For baseball and softball, look at what happened last year, right? The World Baseball Classic. It exceeded all the ratings that everyone had for it. And it was, you see all the cultures coming in together, the representation of the countries, and how loud, especially stadiums like in Florida were, and in Arizona, right? So I think that if they can capitalize and build off of what the WBC was able to accomplish last year, baseball and softball are going to be ones that you want to watch. However, with cricket, we have this whole other market, especially with countries like India, right, where we haven't even tapped into it yet. So especially with them trying to be a more diverse, trying to open up more opportunities for different sports, I can really see it blowing up.
Yeah, we're talking about the 2024 Olympics, right? I think breakdancing will be successful because it's one of 4 genres in the hip-hop industry that started in the streets in the 80s and now around the world in the Olympics, all thanks to the popularity of the music of hip-hop. So I think that will be a really, really fun, interactive way to actually put the spotlight on breakdancing and dance as a sport in general, because they haven't had their spotlight in a while. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think having flag football would be very fun. Like seeing Tyreek Hill trying to, running
Hit him with the piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Imagine someone trying to catch Tyreek Hill's flag. Like that would be that would be really entertaining to watch. But overall, I think like you said, baseball and softball. If you bring in that World Baseball Classic, that energy and that intensity, it's kind of like what you would see in the NBA, like with the Olympics, like. Who like every 4 years, like assembling your best team, who wants to play. And I feel like in basketball, we've seen sometimes guys don't like choose to decline, but in baseball, we've seen like the top guys every year like really want to go and get it. So I think having not only having that in the Classic every year or however many years, and then in the Olympics every 4 years, having the best MLB players who are changing all the time, but going up against like other rivals like Japan and things like that, I think will be very entertaining. So my answer would have to be baseball.
Yeah.
I think between the ones that could be added on for LA, I think probably baseball, just because we saw how much it took off in World Baseball Classic, and I think they even added it on in Tokyo in 2020. I remember that was the first. I don't know when that was the last time that was the first time it had been added in forever, and it was a big deal then. And I mean, you see, there's a lot of countries like Japan around the world that baseball is a huge deal. So it's like we have a lot of these other countries across the world that are like baseball is becoming a staple for them as well, like it is here in America. And it's like it would be really interesting to see. I personally, I think it would be the most interesting just because of its global impact. I mean, a lot of sports, especially, I mean, even the NFL is starting to get more global, like we have, I think we have games in, was it London, almost every week now?
And then they also have them in Mexico as well, Mexico City.
And it's like baseball, the Dodgers are open, is it in Korea against the Padres?
Yeah,
that's a big,
yeah,
and like they've done them in Australia, I know they've done there, so it's like I think it'll be really interesting to see how that pans out just because of how much it's growing in the past recent few years.
And who would have thought, right? Because a couple years ago, everyone was talking about how can we improve baseball? How can we have the viewership go up? How can we had fans in the stadium falling asleep? But I think the answer to that is go across these other countries. The Japanese love baseball, and it breaks my heart that they weren't able to be there in live attendance, especially with the Olympic Games in Tokyo. So I think that's the future of baseball, is just go international, and we see that these other countries, they love supporting their players.
Yeah, my thing is, if we bring baseball to the 2028 Olympics, what stadiums are we going to use? I know we have the Dodgers and Angels Stadium. But are we going to use Cal State Fullerton's baseball field?
Very
Cal State Long Beach
That could be a
baseball
possibility.
field? Yeah, we'll see. Because it takes time to build a baseball stadium, and I don't know if they have proper stadiums for baseball coming up in 2028.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this sport grows globally. All right, Titans, that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Colin Costigan.
It's been a pleasure. I'm Francisco Molina.
Thank you for watching. I'm Noah Segovia.
And I'm Justin Rosette. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter if you haven't already at CSUF Titan Sports to keep you updated on all things sports.